The Cursed Heist, a Deadly Warning. In the dead of night, deep within a dense forest, two thieves named Eric and Vic approached an old, isolated house. The building stood silently amidst the trees, its windows dark and lifeless. Flashlights in hand, they carefully made their way inside, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. As they searched the house, they found nothing of value, and the air was thick with unease. "There doesn't seem to be anyone here," Eric whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence. Vic, scanning the room, replied, "I don't see anything worth taking either." Their disappointment quickly turned to curiosity when they discovered a door secured with 3 heavy locks. Eric's eyes gleamed with intrigue. "What do you think is behind this door?" he asked. "Who needs so many locks?" Vic grinned. "Must be something worth a fortune. Let's find out." With little effort, they broke the locks and pushed the door open. Inside was a small room with a table covered in glittering jewelry, gold, silver, and gems. Eric's eyes widened in disbelief. "Jackpot!" he exclaimed, moving quickly toward the treasure. But as soon as Eric reached for a piece of jewelry, a deep, menacing voice echoed through the room, chilling them to the bone. "Leave now, take nothing, and live." Vic, now on edge, suggested they leave, but Eric dismissed his concerns with a wave of his hand. "It's just some old recording or something. Don't be a coward." Eric's greed overpowered his fear, and he grabbed a handful of the gleaming jewels. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream escaped his lips, and he collapsed to the floor, dead. Vic stood frozen in horror, unable to comprehend what had just happened. There was no one else in the room, no one to cause Eric's sudden death. Terrified, Vic turned and fled the house, racing to his car and speeding away into the night. Back at their hangout, a dimly lit garage, Vic trembled as he recounted the horrifying events to his 2 remaining gang members, Tony and Marcus. His voice shook as he spoke. "I saw Eric die right in front of me, but there was no one there. Something's wrong with that place." Tony, skeptical, narrowed his eyes. "You're saying he just dropped dead for no reason?" Marcus, more determined than ever, said, "We're going to that house. No ghost story is going to scare us off." Vic, pale and shaken, refused to go back, but he reluctantly agreed to draw them a map to the house. Tony and Marcus armed themselves and set out into the night, following Vic's directions. When they arrived at the old house, the 2 men entered cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Tony called out into the silence, "Is there anyone here?" But only silence answered. The house seemed even more ominous than Vic had described. Moving through the eerie stillness, they eventually found the room with the table of treasure, and there, on the floor, was Eric's lifeless body. Marcus, seeing the scene, smirked. "Looks like your ghost didn't clean up. We'll take care of it." Tony, with a mixture of arrogance and bravado, shouted into the darkness, "Show yourself and get ready to die." As if in response, the same menacing voice from before filled the room, even more terrifying than when Vic had heard it. "Leave now, take nothing, and live." Ignoring the warning, Marcus began filling his bag with the glittering jewels. But as soon as he touched the treasure, the door slammed shut behind them, and the room grew dim. Panic set in, and Marcus, now frantic, started firing his gun wildly around the room. "Show yourself!" he screamed. Suddenly, a shadowy figure with glowing eyes materialized before him. Marcus froze in terror, and without a sound, he dropped dead to the floor. Tony, trembling in fear, emptied his gun at the figure, but the bullets had no effect. Realizing his fate, Tony fell to his knees, pleading for his life. "Please, let me leave. I'll never come back, I swear." The entity said nothing, its glowing eyes fixed on him. With a final, cold stare, it drained the life from Tony, leaving him lifeless beside his fallen friend. Meanwhile, back at the hangout, Vic anxiously tried calling Tony and Marcus throughout the night, but there was no answer. As dawn broke, his fear and desperation drove him to the police. Frantic, he told them everything he had seen in the house, insisting that something had killed his friends. The police, skeptical but obligated to investigate, searched the house. They found the 3 bodies exactly as Vic had described, but there were no signs of physical harm. The coroner, puzzled, delivered his findings. These men seemed to have died from fright, so intense that their hearts burst in their chests. No jewelry was found, and the house appeared completely abandoned, as if no one had lived there for years. The police, with no evidence of foul play, closed the case as unsolved, leaving Vic haunted by the knowledge of what he had seen. No one would ever believe him, and he knew he could never return to that house. The memory of what happened that night would stay with him forever, a constant reminder that some treasures are better left untouched. And with that, Vic vowed never to rob another house again, forever haunted by the cursed heist that claimed the lives of his friends.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. And turn on notifications to never miss an episode.